What do the peasants eat? Because the peasants ate hardly any food, they starved for most of it. When they did, they ate mostly vegetables. When the peasants got to eat, they ate with their fingers and were very messy because they hadn't eaten for a long time. They ate soups and stews occasionally that contained veggies and meat. In the medieval times, fruit and veggies that were planted and picked were unhealthy. In the stews sometimes contained cabbages and leeks and garlic. With breakfast every second day, they would make some kind of porridge made up of veggies, which included peas and beans. The peasants ate at least 1 kilo of bread a day, which basically made them breathe for the next 2 days. The bread was made out of some kind of dark wire, which they produced from the fields they were working in. The only sweet foods they had were berries, nuts, and honey that they found in the woods. When the peasants caught a pig or a goat, they couldn't afford to kill it and eat it, so they hardly ate any meat. Peasants' housing. Their housing in the medieval days were constructed out of sticks, straws, and mud. The time they spent in their houses, which was a lot, was very dark and smoky. The animals that they had as pets would either sleep with them or just tied up outside. The houses that they had were very cold and damp. The houses were made out of metal roofs, which were very easy to be destroyed. The small windows they had were for people looking in to be hard, and for looking out to be easy, and for security purposes. Peasants' transport. The thing is, they hardly went anywhere because they weren't allowed to, and if they did, they walked. At the end of it all, of the lives of the peasants had horses to get around on because they were very old and crippled. Churchmen and officials had mules to ride on and horses because they had to travel a lot. Horse and carriage was an option but was very hard to get permission to. If you gave the great lord or king money and land, you might be granted a surprise, which included transport. Pilgrimage, which is one of the things they used, I'll explain it to you now, is a journey to a place associated with someone or something well known or respected. They were so to their land, which they couldn't get out of, did not leave their village until allowed or given permission. Peasants' clothing. The clothing was usually made out of wool or linen, and if they had any clothes, the women would make them for them. When they wore their woolen and linen clothing, they also wore undergarments, also for extra warmth. When they were making a fire or doing something with wood or fire for the smoke, they would stain their clothes. But usually every peasant smelled like smoke because a lot of work was needed to be done. The clothing they wore was also brown at the bottom because of the dirt. But usually the colours of the shirt were brown, red and grey. For men they wore hooded cloak for bad weather, tunic skirt, a belt, breeches for feet and clumsy leather shoes. For women they wore coarse tunic, knee-length stockings and rough shoes. The peasants' entertainment. The peasants had many special occasions just like us, but not as often. They included May Day, Midsummer's Eve, Christmas, Easter and Harvest Day. After the special occasions they had an after party which included jesters, acrobats, minstrels and jugglers. They were very happy and acted as if it was the best day of their lives. They also had some outdoor sports that they did occasionally, which included hunting and archery. And they also competed for awards, which made the peasants more pumped for doing the activities, just like us. One of the very special activities was maypole, and I'll explain it to you. Maypole was a pole painted and decorated with flowers. People traditionally danced around it while holding onto a string. The string was many colours. The last question, in what way is life of a medieval peasant still evident in modern society today? Well, one of the things still here in modern society today is persecution of the Christians. Like in North Korea and Asia, the Christians get persecuted a lot, and in the medieval days they got butchered, whipped, for not as bad as stuff though. Some poor people have the same type of houses as we do, with the tin roofs and small windows to look out of and not to look in is also a security problem because they can't afford security cameras. In some countries, mostly in Asia, the clothing is very similar. In many countries, they live under laws like Buddha, like we have God and they have Buddha. And they also live very peasant-like. We have celebrations like Christmas and Easter, and so do they. We have a similar thing called Maypole, but for gymnasts, they are very traditional. We do heaps of outdoor sports, but very different ones, but they still do include archery and hunting, but we hunt for different types of things. So I hope you learn a lot about peasants and what they like to do. Thank you.